All right, so welcome to the deep dive, everybody. We're going to take a deep dive into Chappell Roan today.
Yeah.
She's kind of taken the world by storm recently.
Yeah.
Won the Grammys for Best New Artist
She did.
this year.
Yeah.
And was also the BBC Sound of 2025. So
Yeah.
clearly a star on the rise.
Yeah. Yeah. Big moment for her.
Yeah, a big moment, a big moment.
Yeah.
And to figure out how she got here and where she might be going, we have a bunch of sources.
Okay.
We're going to be looking at her acceptance speech from the Grammys.
Yeah.
Couple of interviews, one with BBC Radio 1, one with Apple Music,
Okay.
one from the podcast Call Her Daddy,
Oh,
which is always interesting.
always interesting.
And then just kind of a general biographical
Yeah, like an overview kind of.
overview just to kind of get all the facts and figures straight.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to really figure out how she got here so quickly.
Yeah. What are the core elements that got her to this point?
Yeah, what makes her tick as an artist?
Yeah.
What's her perspective on the music industry?
How she sees things.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
All right, so to start to the very beginning, she was born Kaylee Rose Amstutz. Amstutz
Yeah. February 19th, 1998.
in Willard, Missouri.
Willard, Missouri. Yeah.
And oldest of 4 kids.
That's right. Yeah. Eldest of 4.
And from a lot of her interviews, it sounds like she grew up in a pretty,
Conservative.
conservative
Yeah.
Christian environment. Lots of church, lots of like Christian summer camps, that kind of thing.
A lot of church. Yeah. And she's talked about wanting to break out of that a little bit.
Yeah, wanting to kind of find your own way.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did music start to enter the picture for her?
Well, she started playing piano
Oh, okay.
when she was pretty young, 10 or 11,
Oh, wow.
and then started taking lessons at 12.
Okay.
And then her first performance was actually when she was 13. She won her school talent show.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then she even auditioned for America's Got Talent at 14,
Oh, wow.
but didn't make it through. But then around that same age, she started posting covers on YouTube.
Okay.
And that's actually what got her some attention from labels.
Oh, okay. So kind of in the classic.
In the classic way, yeah.
Yeah.
And then she also started songwriting around her teenage years as well.
Okay. So very young, she was already starting to get.
Starting to get the ball rolling.
Yeah. And it sounds like she graduated high school a year early,
She did, yeah.
which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, speaks to how driven she is.
Yeah.
But she has also said she felt like she kind of missed out on typical high school experiences because she was so focused on her career.
Yeah. No prom, no real graduation.
Yeah.
Which is interesting
Yeah.
to think about.
Yeah, how that shapes you
Yeah.
as a person.
Yeah. And now, of course, she goes by Chappell Roan,
Right.
which is not her birth name.
No, it's a stage name.
Yeah. So how did she come up with that?
So it's actually a tribute to her grandfather.
Oh,
Yeah, his name was Dennis K. Chappell.
okay.
And he died of brain cancer in 2016. Oh, wow.
So she took Chappell from his last name
Okay.
and then Roan from his favorite song, The Strawberry Roan.
Oh, that's so cool.
It is very sweet.
Yeah, and it sounds like she really much prefers Chappell Roan.
Yeah, she's very open about not really liking her birth name.
Yeah.
Kaylee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like her grandfather was a pretty big influence.
Yeah, she's talked a lot about how funny he was, how smart he was.
Yeah.
And a really key piece of advice he gave her that she still thinks about today is there are always options,
Oh, wow.
which I think is so valuable, especially in an industry where
Yeah.
it can feel very high stakes.
Yeah. You got to make it or break it right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that perspective from him probably really helped her.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like he really just encouraged her creativity.
He did.
Yeah.
Never pushed her towards specific genres or having a plan B.
Right.
He believed in her plan A.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, the Strawberry Roan, that song is about a horse.
And one of her early songs that got a lot of attention is Pink Pony Club.
Yeah.
So is there any connection there?
So it's funny because that was actually brought up to her in an interview.
Oh, really?
And she hadn't even thought about it.
Oh, wow.
She said it was purely coincidental.
Wow, that's so funny.
Yeah.
So Pink Pony Club, the song is not about the horse, it's about something else.
It's about an actual place in her hometown in Missouri,
Right.
a strip club
Yeah.
that was painted pink.
Okay.
It's not there anymore, but yeah, that's what inspired the song.
Wow, that's so interesting how these little connections,
Yeah.
pop up. So, after kind of starting to get her feet wet with the YouTube covers,
Right.
she actually got signed pretty early on.
Yeah, she was signed to Atlantic Records in 2015 when
Yeah.
she was just 17.
Yeah, very young.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
She played some showcases in New York,
Okay.
and then she got signed.
Wow.
Her debut single was Good Hurt in 2017. And then later that year, she released an EP called School Nights.
Oh, cool.
And even toured with Vance Joy.
Oh, wow. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, a lot of cool opportunities early on.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And then in 2018, she made the move to L.A.
She did, yeah.
Which she's talked about as being super important for her to be able to live openly as a queer woman.
Yeah, to be her authentic self.
Yeah, exactly. And she was touring with Declan McKenna around this time.
She was, yeah.
And late 2018 is when she started working with Dan Negro.
Right.
Which is a name that we're going to hear a lot.
We're going to hear a lot, yeah.
So then comes 2020.
Yeah.
And Pink Pony Club.
Pink Pony Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, this feels like a turning point.
Yeah, it's a pretty different sound.
Yeah, she's described it as a hard left turn.
Yeah.
And the inspiration came from her going to the Abbey.
Okay.
Which is a famous gay bar in West Hollywood.
Yeah.
And she even joked about wanting to be a go-go dancer there.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
And interestingly, her label at the time...
Didn't get it.
Didn't really get it.
Yeah.
Which I feel like happens a lot when artists are really trying to push things forward.
Yeah. Exactly.
But she also released a couple of other singles that year.
She did Love Me Anyway and California.
Yeah.
Both in 2020.
But even with all that, she was actually dropped by Atlantic Records in August of 2020.
Yeah, they cited lack of profitability.
Yeah, which is always tough.
It is.
Yeah.
Especially after having the support of a label.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did she do?
Well, she moved back to L.A.
Okay.
And started working odd jobs to keep things going.
Okay, so she was like a production assistant?
She's a production assistant.
She worked at a donut shop?
She worked at a donut shop.
Just like trying to make ends meet?
Yeah, just to make ends meet while still making music.
Yeah, and this is so interesting because even though Atlantic was like, we don't really get Pink Pony Club.
Right.
It actually started to get a lot of attention.
Yeah, it was on a lot of Best of 2020 lists. Some people even called it the song of the summer for 2021.
Wow.
And it got millions of streams.
Wow, that's so interesting how that can happen.
Yeah.
Where the label's like, nah, we don't see it. And then everyone else is like, this is amazing.
Yeah. I think it speaks to how sometimes artists are just ahead of the curve, you know, and the industry takes a minute to catch up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So how does she go from being dropped to this like massive success that she's having now?
Okay, so early 2021 is when Dan Negro started working with Olivia Rodrigo on her album Sour.
Right.
So he wasn't really available to work with Chappell.
Oh, okay.
And she was having trouble finding another collaborator she really clicked with.
Right.
So she actually moved back to Missouri for a bit and even worked at a drive-thru.
Wow, that's a big change from the music industry.
Yeah.
But then she got a publishing deal with Sony.
She did, yeah.
And was able to reunite with Dan Negro in February of 2022.
Yeah, and their first independent release together was Naked in Manhattan.
Which NPR called a queer girl bop.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great song.
And she was also involved with Olivia Rodrigo's album as well.
She sang backing vocals on 3 songs from Sour.
Wow.
And that's huge because that album was everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And on top of that, she got to open for Olivia Rodrigo on her Sour tour.
Oh, wow.
And also opened for Fletcher on her Girl of My Dreams tour.
Wow. So she's getting in front of massive audiences.
Massive audiences, yeah.
Even before she has her own album out.
Right.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's a great way to build a fan base.
Yeah, for sure. So what came next?
So she kept releasing independent singles. Phenomenon came out in August of 2022.
Okay.
And then Casual, which she had actually been working on since 2020.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So even back then?
Yeah, even back then.
Yeah.
And in February 2023, she did her first headlining tour.
Wow.
It was called the Naked in North America tour.
Okay.
And she had themed stops.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and drag queen openers. Love that.
Yeah, it's very Chappell Roan.
Yeah.
She was inspired by Orville Peck.
Okay.
Who also does that.
That's cool.
And the tour got really positive reviews. Critics compared it to early Lorde and Billie Eilish concerts.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, people saw that she was on her way to becoming something big.
Yeah, for sure. And then just a month later, she signed with Amusement Records.
She did, yeah.
Which is Dan Negro's imprint.
Yeah, imprint of Island Records.
So she's back with Dan.
Back with Dan.
And on a label.
Yeah.
So things are looking up.
Things are looking up.
Yeah, so her debut album, The Rise and Fall of the Midwest Princess, finally came out in September of 2023.
It did, yeah.
And it's such a great title.
It's a great title. Very evocative.
Yeah.
And then she went on her second headlining tour.
Okay.
The Midwest Princess Tour.
Right.
Still with drag performers opening.
Love that.
And she donated $1 from every ticket for the girls.
Okay, cool.
which is an organization that supports Black trans people. And the album got great reviews. It was on a lot of best of 2023 lists.
Yeah.
It kind of became a sleeper hit.
Okay.
Like, it didn't debut super high, but it just steadily gained popularity.
Yeah, word's mouth.
Yeah, exactly. And then she got another huge opportunity.
Okay.
She opened for Olivia Rodrigo again.
Oh, wow.
This time on her Gus World tour in early 2024.
Yeah, that's huge.
Huge, yeah.
And I imagine that really helped her streaming numbers.
It did, yeah. She saw a big increase.
Yeah.
And she also got to perform on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
Okay.
And do a Tiny Desk concert for NPR.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so even more exposure.
Yeah, she's really hitting all the big things.
Yeah.
So then in April 2024, Good Luck Babe comes out.
Yeah, and she said it marked the start of a new chapter musically.
Oh, okay.
And it's directly about compulsory heterosexuality.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the song just blew up.
It did.
Yeah.
It was her first Billboard Hot 100 Top 10 hit.
Wow.
Peaked at number 6.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And that same month, she performed at Coachella.
Coachella. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That's like the ultimate.
Yeah, it's the ultimate.
Yeah.
And her Spotify listeners just went through the roof.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, her streams just grew exponentially throughout 2024.
Wow. Yeah, she's really having a moment.
She really is.
But even with all this success, she made a pretty interesting decision about a White House Pride celebration.
Right. She declined the invitation.
Yeah.
Publicly, she said it was because she was concerned about liberty, justice, and freedom for all.
Yeah, and she specifically mentioned the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and trans rights.
She did, yeah.
Which is pretty powerful.
It is, yeah. It shows that she's really thinking about these issues.
Yeah.
And she even considered reciting poetry by Palestinian women at the event.
Oh, wow.
But she decided against it because of safety concerns.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So she's clearly not shying away from these difficult topics.
No, not at all. And at Governor's Ball, she debuted a new song.
Yeah. The subway.
And she also spoke about the challenges of fame.
Yeah, which I'm sure are very real.
Yeah.
Especially with how quickly things have happened for her.
Yeah, for sure. And then at Lollapalooza, she headlined the biggest daytime set they'd ever had.
Yeah.
Biggest crowds during the day.
Yeah, so clearly people are connecting with her music.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So then she won Best New Artist at the MTV Video Music Awards.
She did.
And dedicated it to queer and trans people.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
And by October, she was #1 on the Billboard Artist 100 chart.
#1.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
And then she was the musical guest on Saturday Night Live.
SNL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even appeared in a Netflix special with Sabrina Carpenter.
She did.
And then to cap it all off, the BBC Sound of 2025.
Yeah.
Which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a really big deal.
Yeah.
A lot of artists who win that go on to have huge careers.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So 2025 started off with a bang.
Yeah. And then, of course, the Grammys.
The Grammys.
Where she won Best New Artist.
She did.
And her speech was really interesting.
Yeah, she used it as an opportunity to advocate for livable wages and health care for developing artists.
Yeah.
Which is so important.
Yeah.
Especially after her own experience of being dropped and having to work odd jobs.
Yeah, it's a reality for so many artists.
Yeah.
And her speech actually sparked a little bit of controversy.
It did, yeah.
With a former music executive.
Yeah, he criticized her views.
Yeah.
And she responded by challenging him to a charity donation match.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Yeah.
She's putting her money where her mouth is.
Yeah, for sure.
And on top of that, her album was nominated for Album of the Year.
Wow.
And Best Pop Vocal Album.
Awesome.
And Good Luck Babe was up for Record of the Year, Song of the Year, and Best Pop Solo Performance.
Wow. So a lot of nominations.
Yeah, she was really recognized by the Recording Academy.
Yeah, for sure.
And then in March of this year, she released The Giver.
Yeah.
Which is her first new music since Good Luck Babe.
Yeah. So it feels like the start of another new chapter.
Yeah, definitely.
So now that we've kind of covered her career trajectory, let's dive into her artistry a little bit.
Okay.
She collaborates a lot on her songwriting, right?
It does, yeah.
Primarily with Dan Negro.
Yeah.
But Kaleidoscope from her album is actually the only song she wrote completely by herself.
Yeah, that's the only one.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And she kind of started out making pop music with a little bit of a darker edge.
Yeah.
And now it's more like a mix of organic and electronic sounds, kind of like dark pop with ballad undertones.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
And her songwriting from her teenage years is so interesting. It's very candid about adolescence.
Yeah. She's really good at capturing that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she has this really interesting way of describing her music.
Yeah, she says it's like the fairy tale version of what happened in real life.
Yeah, and her Chappell Roan persona is very much an extension of herself, but also, like, larger than life.
Yeah, it's like she can explore different parts of herself through that persona.
Yeah.
Billboard called her an innovative art pop auteur.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and her vocals are amazing.
They are.
Even Troye Sivan was like, wow, I haven't heard a voice like that since Adele.
Yeah. High praise.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because she actually felt like she was singing wrong for like 10 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And only started taking proper vocal lessons in late 2022.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
She has a soprano range and can even hit the whistle register.
She can, yeah.
And she's known for having really stable vocals and perfect pitch in her live performances.
Yeah, she sounds amazing live.
Yeah, it's really impressive.
Yeah.
So clearly she's really dedicated to her craft.
Yeah, always working on improving.
Yeah, and she has such a wide range of influences.
She does, yeah.
Kate Bush, Abby Watkins, the movie The Beguiled.
All J.
All J.
Stevie.
Stevie Nicks, Ellie Goulding.
Karen Carpenter.
Karen Carpenter, Lord.
Lana Del Rey.
Lana Del Rey. Rihanna.
Yeah.
She said that Rihanna's song Stay inspired her to start writing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Nicki Minaj.
Nicki Minaj.
For confidence.
Yeah.
Ariana Grande. A big Arianator.
A big Arianator.
Kelly Haysha. Britney Spears.
Yeah.
Pink. She said Pink inspired her to start creating her persona.
Yeah. She really pulls from a lot of different places.
Yeah, and it's interesting because she was raised on Christian rock.
Right.
But it wasn't really for her.
Yeah, she was drawn to pop.
Yeah.
The energy, the freedom of it.
Yeah, for sure. And her visual presentation is so important.
It is.
Like the makeup, the hair, the costume. It's all very intentional.
Yeah, it's all part of the Chappell Roan experience.
Yeah. So where does she get her inspiration for that?
Well, she's a big fan of drag.
Oh, yeah.
Violet Chachki, especially.
Yeah.
Boy George, 80s.
Punk.
Vivienne Westwood.
Okay.
The club kid scene.
And she says her stage looks often reference horror burlesque and theater.
Oh, wow.
She likes to mix pretty and scary or pretty and tacky.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And she's always emphasizing that it's not serious.
It's about performance.
Yeah.
It's about the persona.
Yeah, and she's even said that she considers herself a drag queen.
Yeah.
In her own way.
Yeah, like Chappell Roan is her drag persona.
Yeah.
Like Hannah Montana.
Yeah, and it allows her to feel more free and confident.
Yeah. Especially about expressing her sexuality.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And she's definitely having a big cultural impact.
She is, yeah.
People are calling her a queer pop icon.
Yeah.
A superstar in the making.
Yeah.
A visionary performer.
Yeah.
Some are even saying she's leading a lesbian pop renaissance.
Yeah.
Bringing themes of queer identity and compulsory heterosexuality into mainstream pop.
Yeah. And she's being praised for her authenticity, her queer and feminine expression.
Yeah.
And for rejecting the male gaze.
Yeah.
Her attitude is very punkish. She's rewriting the rules of lovelorn pop.
Yeah, for sure.
And Rolling Stone even compared watching her perform to Michelangelo creating David.
Wow.
Yeah. High praise.
Yeah, very high praise.
Yeah.
And her influence goes beyond just music.
Yeah.
She gave a guest lecture at Harvard Medical School.
She did.
Which is so cool. And the Google search suggestion, did you mean your favorite artist's favorite artist?
Oh, yeah.
Became a meme.
Yeah.
Because of her Coachella intro.
Yeah.
Which was inspired by Sasha Colby.
Yeah.
Who then welcomed her into the House of Colby.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole thing with the Kamala Harris campaign.
Right.
They released a Harris Walls hat that looked very similar to her Midwest Princess merch.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And she didn't endorse Harris, but she did say she would be voting for her.
Yeah.
And that she was concerned about broader political and social issues.
Yeah.
So she's definitely not just sticking to music.
No, she's using her platform
Yeah.
to speak out about things she cares about.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So what about her personal life?
Okay, so she lives in LA.
Okay.
Identifies as a lesbian.
Okay.
And as of September 2024, she's in a relationship with someone outside the music industry.
Okay, good for her.
Yeah.
But she was raised Christian.
She was, yeah.
And she's talked about how she doesn't really identify with the church anymore.
Yeah, but that her relationship with religion is evolving.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people who grow up in a certain faith kind of go through that.
Yeah.
Where they have to figure out what they actually believe.
Yeah, exactly.
And she was diagnosed with bipolar II disorder when she was 22.
She was.
And has been really open about the importance of therapy and medication.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's even linked her, like, really out there style.
Yeah, her tacky pop star look.
Yeah. To her work in therapy.
Yeah.
About her inner child.
Yeah, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it is.
And unfortunately, she's also had to deal with some of the downsides of fame.
Yeah.
Like creepy fan behavior, harassment, stalking, even people trying to contact her family.
Wow. That's awful.
Yeah, it's a sad reality for a lot of artists.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's been a really interesting journey for her.
Yeah, it really has.
Yeah.
So to kind of sum it all up, how would you describe Chappell Roan's story so far?
Well, she's gone from a small town in Missouri with a conservative upbringing to winning a Grammy and topping the BBC Sound of Poll.
Yeah.
And she's done it all while being true to herself.
Yeah.
She's resilient. She has a strong artistic vision.
Yeah.
And she's not afraid to challenge the norms in the music industry.
Yeah, and her music is just so good.
It is.
And she has this amazing ability to connect with people.
Yeah, she blends pop with her own experiences as a queer woman and this really cool camp aesthetic.
Yeah, and it really works.
Yeah, it really works.
Yeah.
She's one of a kind.
Yeah, she is. So for all of you listening out there, I want you to think about this.
Okay.
How might Chappell Roan's story change the music industry?
Yeah.
Her authenticity, her advocacy for artists' rights. Could that lead to more diversity, more acceptance?
Yeah.
What does her success tell us about what music listeners want today?
Yeah. Are they looking for something different?
Yeah, something real.
Yeah.
Something that pushes boundaries.
Yeah. Good question.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about.
It is.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.